Welcome into this episode of The Tailgate. I'm Gary Lloyd, and I am here today with my friend Chris Mills. Been a football coach in the area at various places. I mean, I know you from first, I guess, Pinson Valley, Clay-Chalkville, obviously, and then you've been several places.
I have. I spent, my wife and I got married in 2010, and we moved to Birmingham shortly after, and took a job at Pinson Valley. Coach receivers, and then was the offensive coordinator there. Did that for 3 years, and then went to Clay-Chalkville and coached 4 years there. Well, was lucky enough to win a state title in 2014 there, and then was an assistant principal there for 1 year. 1 year out of coaching, missed it terribly. Got back in, went to Leeds for a year, and then spent 3 years at Mortimer Jordan, and then I am finishing up my first year at Springville High School now. So,
okay.
Been around.
Yeah, well, a lot of them very much around this area. What's been, I don't know, has there been a favorite stop at all?
Well, I mean, you can't. I mean, winning a state title is one of those things as a coach that you never forget. And then once you win one, you realize how hard they are to win.
Gosh, yeah.
And how many just fantastic coaches out there don't ever get that opportunity for whatever reason. And you learn that so many things have to line up. You got to have a great administration. You got to have great players, and then have a group of coaches that are like-minded that can put those guys in the best opportunity to win. The following year in 2015. I felt like we had a better team, and we lost the state title game. And it was a humbling experience to know that we probably had a better team than the year before, but it just didn't line up right to win. So
was that Spanish Fort?
It was. That was Spanish Fort. We beat Saraland in 2014 the championship game, and then lost to Spanish Fort in 2015.
Just how good was that 2014 team? I mean, I covered most of those games that year.
Well, you look back and offensively, we set a state record for points scored in 6A that year.
700 and something points.
730 points over 15 games. It was just a tick under 49 a game over 15
Not
games.
bad.
And but like I said, we had great players, and then defensively had several guys going to play at the next level. I think off the 14 team there were 10 or 12 guys that played on Saturdays just from that team, and obviously that helps. There's a lot of good coaches out there that don't have the players that we did. And of course, I mean, here we are almost 10 years later, and Clay-Chalkville just won another one a couple of years ago and continues to put out good players.
Yeah, I mean, there's athletes all over that school zone. Is Piggy the best player that maybe you've seen?
I tell people he was the best high school football player. He played quarterback for us, and just the numbers that he put up. I did all our stats, so most of those still pop up. And had 125 touchdowns in a couple of years, and to this day he's the biggest Mr. Football snub that I'll probably ever encounter, and probably should have won it both years in 14 and 15. But he was there, and then just blessed to play, coach guys like TJ Simmons who went on to Alabama and then finished at West Virginia, who's actually playing. He just got picked up by the San Antonio team of the XFL.
I saw that.
Keep in touch with him, and then I still keep in touch with Nico Collins. He's playing for the Houston Texans right now, and
he may be. I was reading a little while ago that D'Amico Ryans just interviewed for that job.
Sure did. He
may be getting a little taste of Bama. Back at the head coaching there. So we'll see whenever the 49ers run ends. But yeah, a lot of guys.
It was. We were blessed, and and here I am. I'm 41, be 42 next week, or next month. This will be coming up on my 20th year, coaching football, and it's amazing how fast that goes, and just where I'm at right now, and just trying to be just a positive influence in young men's lives, and make sure that I'm there for my kids. Now I've been coaching other people's kids for 20 years, and just making sure that I'm present and there for mine, and wins and losses are kind of secondary for me at this time, and that's a good place to be as a dad, for sure.
Yeah, and I would guess that your kids pick up on that. They see you doing this, helping these other kids with whatever it might be, getting them rides home, whatever.
100%. My son is 9. He's in the 3rd grade here in Trussville, and he just finished his second year of football here with the Little League, and he's been around football since he was 4 or 5 years old.
Right.
Comes to work with me in the summer and eats, breathes, lives it. Watches it. Loves the. I mean, he knows more about the NFL than I do. So, but it's fun to have him around, and again, like you said, being present and seeing how I interact with kids and what's important, and having him around has changed a little bit of how I coach too. Maybe as a younger coach, maybe you say things you probably wouldn't say, but making sure that my son sees that I'm trying to build kids up, coach them hard, love them hard.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Who's his favorite NFL team?
He's a Baltimore Ravens fan.
Okay.
We actually took him to a game back in November this year. It was his birthday present.
Really?
Flew up and got to it. Oddly enough, it was actually the game that Lamar Jackson got hurt in.
Oh no.
We got to see 2 series, and then he
no.
got hurt. But they were playing the Denver Broncos, and it was kind of a boring game. But the Ravens game-winning drive and kicked a field goal to win it. So it was a pretty fun experience.
Pretty
for him.
fun to end. Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've never been to an NFL game. I've
Yeah.
been to stadiums, but not a game. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
it was
That's really
cool.
So what? You live out here in Trussville, right?
We do. We've lived in the Calumet neighborhood 7 years now, I think, and we've lived in this area since 2010. Lived over in Clay for a few years, and then moved over to Trussville in 2016. My wife's been a real estate agent in this area right since our daughter was born in 2015, and just been blessed to have our kids grow up in this community. And my daughter is involved with the Art Wings gym with gymnastics.
Oh, yeah.
She did dance for a little while at the Birmingham Academy of Dance, and just being able trying to be involved with the Trussville City Schools Foundation.
Yeah.
Was actually lucky enough to split the pot a couple of years ago in the drawdown, and we're just trying to be involved. We do the join the pack every year. Yeah. that they advertise. This is a city that we're invested in, and that we want to not only be with our kids and grow up, but to be involved in the community. We actually bought our tickets yesterday for the casino night that's coming up here in a few weeks, and so just really glad and blessed to be a part of this community.
Yeah. What's your casino game? What's your
I'm a blackjack guy. I'm a blackjack guy. I enjoy, as long as the people at the table know what they're doing. You can get there with people that don't know the strategies, and they can mess it up.
You can throw it off. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, we spent some time in a casino when I lived in Mississippi for like 6 months. I was maybe a couple hours from Gulfport, Biloxi. And we just go down there, try to find like the $5 table.
Sure.
A journalist's salary, I don't know if you know, is a little tough to go in the casino.
It's probably just same as a teacher. It's not far behind.
Not far. Sure. And you get that. You sit with some people you don't know, and you're like, why did you do that? And then you see the next card, and it's just like, okay. It can be tough.
I'm a high energy guy, and it's fast paced. It's one after another.
Boom.
Those guys that go and sit in those poker rooms for hours and hours and hours. Like I have what I call a self-diagnosed adult ADHD. Okay, that after I don't sit still very long. So right. I like the fast pace of that stuff.
Yeah. So going back to football a little bit, like who is maybe in your coaching career, who's been the toughest guy to go against? I know you coach more offense, so either side, who have been some of the standouts that have been like, man, we can't keep that guy out of our backfield, or we can't get that guy on the ground?
I'll tell you the one game that always sticks. Well, there's actually two, and one was in 2015 at Clay-Chalkville. We played Homewood in the second round of the playoffs that year, and they had a defensive end, and I can't for the life of me remember his name, but he went to go play at South Carolina. And that's the first one that stands out of, we're game planning that week, and it's a guy that we know we can't block, that we don't have a guy that can one-on-one block this guy, and really having to put a game plan together to know where he's at, every snap. And then the following year in 2016, we played James Clemens, and they actually had three. LeBron Ray, who went to go play at Alabama. oh, I can't remember the other
Ray.
two. They had a middle linebacker that went to Georgia, and then they had a defensive back, Kyrie McDonald, who also went to Alabama. He ended up finishing at Cincinnati. But those three guys, I mean, I think we scored 10 points that night. I mean, it was it was not that team. Now, they weren't great on offense, but I remember those guys for sure. And I can't leave out this past year the kid over at Leeds right now, Kavion.
Alexander.
Yeah, I can't remember his
last name.
But
Sorry, Kavion.
Yeah, he is.
He tore up O-line.
He is as polished, but again, you go back to who he's coaching. You know, Curtis Coleman is he's
legend.
He's the best defensive line guy that I've ever been around, and he got that kid, you know, as a 8th grader, 9th grader, and started coaching him up, and it shows. And he's going to be what stinks is we have to play him again next year. Okay, but just to name a few, those guys really stand out.
Well, and Papa Hood knows which assistants to bring with him, doesn't he?
100%, 100%. So,
Jerry's Jerry's fantastic, and it's cool to see. It's been cool to see that. I mean, not that Leeds has been hurting for players or success over the years. I mean, back when Keith Etheridge was there, I mean they've got, you know, they've been good for a long time. But it was cool to see, you know, Jake over at Moody and kind of see that St. Clair County area kind of elevate a little bit this last year. So that was really neat. Who are you? What's the outlook for this year? I know it's a long ways off. We're talking right now in January.
Yeah, you know, so I'm at Springville now, and it, you know, we're a very good football team last year, just from an athlete standpoint, but a growing year. Our head coach John Clements just finished his 2nd year, and there was a lot of turnover in the coaching staff over the last couple of years, and so you're trying to build some continuity there. Trying to build some culture. You know, Springville's had some really successful baseball teams, some really successful softball, some soccer. You know, there's some tradition out there, and it's a community that loves the community. You know, and very supportive. So you know, just trying to help these guys, you know, grow and you know, understand the importance of the weight room here in the off season. We deal with a lot of multi-sport athletes, which, you know, for decades and decades was awesome, you know, and it still is, you know, for kids that want to play for their community, and where it becomes difficult for multiple sports, you know, where you're trying to do off-season training, and you got kids that walk right off the football field to the basketball floor, and then leave the basketball floor and go right to the baseball field or the soccer field, and which is, again, it's fantastic for those kids that love their community and want to play. You know, but it's hard when you're trying to get kids to eat right and train right and work out and gain weight and things like that. So, but you know, it's the norm, and we're in a city has grown really fast. I mean, much like Trussville did.
Much like Trussville did in the 80s and 90s, for sure.
And so trying to kind of play catch up with infrastructure, with buildings. I mean, you know, you're talking about we just passed a local tax there in Springville that's supposed to build a new middle school. Not sure when, you know, I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but
it's coming at some point.
Yeah, I mean, you're just it's growing so fast, and neighborhoods are growing, and you're talking about probably just about 10, 15 years ago, Springville was a 3A high school, you know, with 400 kids, and now we're double that. Okay. Wow. I think, you know, the late 2000s, they were still a 3A school.
So y'all in?
We're 5A now.
What region y'all in?
We are, I forget what number it is, but we're in there with Moody and St. Clair County and Alexandria.
Wow.
And, it's a gauntlet.
Yeah, that's a quick ascent too.
Yeah, and
class-wise.
You know, they were actually 6A in 2020 and 21. They went to 6A for 2 years, and we're in with Scottsboro and Fort Payne and Oxford and all that.
Some trips there.
Yeah, and most likely moving back to 6A during the next classification. So, you know, just trying to help that community, and with the community growth, you just got a lot of infrastructure that's got to get there with it, and it's a good place to be right now.
Yeah, I've always found that classification stuff just really interesting, like seeing when they release those enrollment numbers, because like I don't know. I mean, people that will watch this that know me and know me in terms of high school football,
Yeah,
will know I talk about Hewitt versus Clay ad nauseum,
sure.
even though it hasn't been played since 2015.
Yeah.
But I look at how much Clay has even grown
Oh,
and how they're one of the biggest 6A schools at that last
sure.
enrollment. Maybe these schools will play again, maybe they won't. I don't know. But if Clay somehow ends up in 7A one day
I
and
would.
Hewitt stays, because they're kind of they're in the middle
Sure.
pack of the 7A
Yeah.
enrollment. They'd have to be in the same region.
I've got some really good friends that are still at Clay-Chalkville. The principal, Eugene Dallas, is a really good friend of mine, and knowing what's coming from the middle school up, it wouldn't shock me if they were a 7A school next year at this next classification. And that's going to be interesting where alignment goes, because geographically they would fit right in with the Region 3 or whatever that's here. But I think there's already 8 or 9 teams in that region, so it could be interesting for the AHSAA, depending on where people go. If they get another team, does somebody go south or somebody go north? So we'll see how that goes.
We joked about that kind of during the playoffs, during the 6A playoffs, with how those geographic lines are drawn.
Yeah.
Where you look at, like, we cover Mountain Brook a lot, we cover Homewood a lot, and Homewood's in the south, and Mountain Brook's up north. And to me, I'm looking at a map of Alabama, and I'm like, that line must be like the Birmingham Zoo, like right there. That's the cutoff. Everything else is south. So it was just crazy to see, Homewood going all the way down to like Saraland, Mountain Brook hosting a Hartselle, and just how stretched the state can be from the middle.
Well, and you look at the growth of the Birmingham Metro over the last 20 years, and how many 5A, 6A, 7A teams are within 30 miles.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I'm not drawing those lines. There's so many teams, and you've just got to pick at some point. And that stretch from Birmingham to Mobile, that's a heck of a run. But you got to somebody. That's why they make the big bucks down there in Montgomery, right?
That's why they make the big bucks. I'm glad they're doing it and not me. They've had their hands full, not just with that, but with a lot of other things over the last year or two.
Goodness gracious, for sure.
Especially recently. But we'll leave that. We'll let that sleeping dog lie for now. Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah.
So, anything else, Chris?
Man, I just appreciate the opportunity. I like talking, and I'm proud of this community. I'm proud of what I've been able to accomplish in my career. I'm proud of my family and my kids, and really proud of Trussville right behind me, and what Coach Floyd and those guys are doing, and just wanted to, my kids are like, we're entrenched here, and hopefully my son gets to play out here one day, and I'm excited to watch that growth, and hope these guys keep winning lots of games.
That'll be awesome. Well, thank y'all for watching. Make sure you do all the things that people say at the end of these: like, rate, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm new to this, so we're going to try to make it fun and do this a good bit. So, Chris, appreciate you coming on and
yes, sir,
hopping on the tailgate.
See you guys.